Hey there, Adrienne Elise here. Welcome to Gaia Daily for April 7th and 8th, 2020. How are you doing? Well, we're heading into this Libra full moon just about 12 hours from now, exactly. And this is really bringing forward a lot of energies for us around balance and harmony. Libra, more than anything, just wants things to be nice for everyone, you know? Um, and it's interesting how Libra rules this balance, this harmony, the beauty of nature, aesthetic energies of a nice environment, right? But Libra also rules justice. And it kind of tells us that in order to have harmony in our world, we've got to have justice. And that's what's really been going on behind the scenes for so long, for so many years in this evolution, is that we do not have spiritual justice here, where very dark forces are doing horrible things and very pure souls are taking the blame energetically and holding those energies. And that's a huge shift. So, in order for us to come back into harmonious existence, we need justice. And where we're at right now is this huge tipping of the scales. It's like, in order for things to be corrected, and this is exactly like the metaphor that's coming to mind has to do with health in the body. So, the bigger the correction that's needed for health in the body, the bigger disturbance you're going to see in the vital force, meaning the symptoms. So the body will display big symptoms. And that's kind of saying, okay, this is a big disturbance and it needs a big correction, right? And that's where we're at right now. But this imbalance that we're in actually has been going on for thousands of years. And now it's coming to the surface to be seen by the masses. So there's an energy around kind of trusting in your higher power, the higher power, our divine timeline of what we're really doing here, like we talked about yesterday, and understanding that in order for this harmony to return in an actual, real, sustainable way in our world, we have to balance the scales. And right now, it's like they have to go very out of balance in order to display how out of balance they are before the cure can come in. But understand that the cure always matches vibrationally the disturbance in energy, So the blessings that are coming in, that are available to us right now, are huge, because it's like that the laws of the universe is that the out of balance energy is met with in the same amount of harmony. So what's trying to come into our world is this way greater harmonious environment and energy for everyone. But the scales have got to go as far as they need to go into duality, into the negative creating to show us these patterns. But it's like, for these souls that have been holding space for so long and going through so much to be here, understand that, and this is this mystery of this Uranus and Taurus and Mars exact today in a square with Uranus and Taurus, very powerful energy around trying to move forward into the Aquarian age. But we have to understand that. And this is, can we receive this, right? Because it's like, okay, what if the blessings are the same level of persecution we've been going through for thousands of years? The support, the beautiful energies, the gifts, can you allow yourself to conceive of being showered with blessings? Like, can you allow yourself to have that 180-degree turn where in the lower dimensional frequencies, everything's working against you. In these higher dimensional frequencies that are landing on the planet right now, everything's supporting you in who you are. And then what needs to happen in the individual for that shift to receive on that level? It's radical, right? I mean, that's a radical change, especially since we've been in this persecution, holding the light workers down, holding the spiritual energies back on our planet for so long. Right? But what if there's this like big bucket of blessings waiting to come in for when the time is right? A shower of stars, you know? And it's interesting because a lot of people are talking about this comet Atlas. And there's actually now 2 atlases, and they just were discovered in December and coming very close to the Earth, and then will go close to the sun. And called Atlas because they were discovered by the Atlas telescope or device, whatever, and observatory. And so, but if we kind of sink into this energy of the story of Atlas holding the Earth, you know, and holding up the burdens of humanity. This is kind of these souls, what you guys have been doing for so long, taking the blame for the negative creating, beating yourself up, allowing yourself to be beaten down, and at the same time, like being punished for who you are in your light, and yet not even accessing your light, and holding this boulder of weight of the grief of humanity, blaming. These souls have been blaming themselves, have been talking about this for all of the dark things that have happened in this Earth evolution. And maybe this light, this comet energy is coming in to bring in the truth, that shower of stars, and release this dynamic. You know, it's like a spiritual activation. Energies coming in and being like, hey, you guys, get out from under that boulder. It's not yours to carry. And it's like a really cool picture I've seen sometimes when working with this type of energy in a session, where the heavy boulder turns into like a beach ball. You know, you've seen those beach balls that are shaped, you know, with the picture of the Earth. And it's kind of like, oh, wait, that's a very different picture, right? And that kind of goes back to this radical change we're being asked to make in our self-worth and our ability to receive the blessings. And instead of each of us individually carrying around a big, heavy stone of earth karma and humanity's grief and pain and the dark things that have had to happen in this evolution, all of a sudden we're playing with a beach ball. Like, that's the shift we're looking at, really. You know, it's like, you know, to be children in order to enter heaven. And that's exactly the energy, because spiritual ascension, the higher frequency vibrations, the higher activation of our light body and what we're here really doing, you know, even though it seems like we're carrying this heavy boulder, is we're really turning our bodies into light, turning the earth into light. And the secret key ingredient to activating into your spiritual purpose, into your light body, has to do with alpha waves in the brain. Alpha waves are the main state that children are in. And it's pretty profound. I haven't really put that together about how there's a lot of talk right now that this time is being used, this crazy lockdown that we're all in that doesn't make any sense, to save the children. And what a beautiful energy that perhaps the persecution of children has been part of why we haven't been able to access joy, because you as a sensitive soul can feel that. You don't know why you're feeling it. But it's like, how can you be in joy when this kind of darkness is happening in our world, right? Like, how can you allow yourself to be in alpha waves when this type of darkness is occurring on our planet, and yet you don't even know it's happening, and yet you feel it? You know, and a lot of these things have gone on as like social experiments, because these souls, you guys are so, like, as we evolve and become more spiritually evolved, our spiritual evolution, we get more and more sensitive, more and more empathic, more and more feeling what other people feel, right? And that becomes quite a disability. And so there's been these like dark things that have gone on to affect the collective consciousness and keep us in darkness. Like, I can think of numerous things around like ghost armies, you know, stuck energies in the lower astral plane, of course, deliberate trauma, and that type of negative creating war. And there's also these social experiments that have been going on and are now, we've got to root that stuff out, you know, and maybe that's this Libra full moon. It's like, okay, if we're going into new vibrational frequencies, there's nothing that can stop where we are moving into our galaxy, into new vibrational frequencies. And so we've got to bring it back to balance. And how can we do that with with most harmony and the least amount of disruption? And that's where we're in this weird place right now, where we got these layered timelines. And so nothing makes sense because there's all these concentric, or, just kind of different timelines coming together while we go through this portal into this new dimensional frequency. But that's a beautiful energy to just feel like, oh, this is, because if you really which is more and more difficult, I know, with this heavy energy, but to put it aside and to feel the higher vibrational frequencies available to you right now. And to give yourself that permission, that radical shift in self-worth, that you're not here to carry the boulder anymore. You're here to be true, the child of the universe that you really are, here to play and co-create in alignment with that ideal timeline. And so our work is to allow those higher frequency vibrations, and perhaps what's happening behind the scenes is supportive of this. And we're very important in supporting it because we're tipping those scales back to harmony, in the most harmonious way, hopefully. But this energy of this Libra full moon is about claiming balance back on our planet, claiming harmony back on our planet, which means divine justice. And it's interesting how we've been working so much on that divine feminine for the last couple of years, like cleansing the feminine, healing the feminine, and then these divine masculine activations, this strength of self, of being able to stand up for what's right and good and true, to be able to protect ourselves, to stop rolling over and just take the abuse, which is, we're having a huge bloom of this right now, of how humanity is just like, oh, okay, I'll stay home, right? But we have been working on that, and maybe this is part of this whole deal. And now it's like we've got to heal the feminine and the masculine to get back to divine harmony and divine balance and divine justice, where we do not allow that type of behavior on our planet. And it's interesting how I work with these light worker souls who all have a programming around shame and low self-worth and failure and, gosh, what did I do? Like deep, dark karma, right? And it's like, what did I do in a past life to deserve this? I must have been a horrible person, right? And actually it's a totally misconstrued concept around karma. Because going back to what I've been talking about is that the definition of you as a soul, if you can sit here and listen to this, this is who you are, okay? Because otherwise you just turn it off immediately. But it's like, so you came into this earth evolution fully evolved, fully purified soul. You've already gone through spiritual ascension. You've had numerous experiences and evolutions. And so you came to the earth to hold space for this exact transition. It just took us a little 100,000 years later. And maybe you came in for this and specifically, or you've been here experiencing lifetimes throughout this evolution. And so you came in with a soul level purity, and it's like, it's really interesting to see these souls though have this deep, dark feeling inside, like they have created this negative, this darkness. When the truth comes out about what's been happening in these social experiments, apparently we're only going to get a certain amount of truth because it's like whatever we can handle, but we'd have to get that truth. Otherwise we'll create it again, right? Like we have got to face the hard truths of these social experiments and these horrible things that have been happening. Otherwise we'll allow it again, and we cannot do that, right? But when these truths come out, you are going to feel like you're going to be like, oh my God, she was right. I am a pure soul. Because I could never conceive of doing something like that. Like the darkness that's happened it's like, this is what happens to these souls. You come in, you're purified, you're trying to do a good thing. A lot of times you might come into a leadership position because you're here to learn how to be, that's part of your contractual arrangement, your karma. And then being that purified soul, you're just naive to the level of duality and evil. You can't even imagine. Have you had this experience in relationships? We all have, where you're like, oh my gosh, like I trusted this person and it's hard to even conceive that they could be that low and act from that place of selfishness. because it's so different from where you come from. And it's like, so you can't even recognize it, you know? And so that's what's happened to these souls. And you've been manipulated. Your power's been used against you. You've been betrayed in deep, dark levels and ways. And when these truths comes out, it's like a redemption, you know? It's like, oh gosh, I'm actually a pretty good person, you know, like actually you're a really good person. And you have been bought into this story that it's your fault, you know, because coming into here and you're trying to bring the light, you're trying to bring the healing, and you were demonized for that. And then when people turn people against you, that's kind of the pattern. And then if you had a public death, that's where it cements in, because all that energy is going at you of either demonization typically, but also sympathy, right? So it's like really confusing. And then that's where your fall happened. Like, you're like, oh, I must have done something horribly wrong. Like, how could God let this happen to me, right? And then you're separate from God. And then then you're stuck in earth karma, right? And that's kind of how we got here. But we also have our own evolutionary desire to stand up for ourselves, to stand up for what's right and true, to bring the light to the earth. And it's like, that's kind of the big message right now. It's like, when we do claim this balance back, which is inevitable, and if souls can't be on that vibration, then they're going to have another place that they can go to work out their negative karma, right? But when we do this, it's like, oh man, moving into this Aquarian age, the higher octave of this experience, a golden age on Earth, where these negative entities have to leave the planet. The vibration can't host them. And it's like, it's all worth it. It's all worth it in the end. And I've been shown this again and again and again. And these souls have barely made it. I know it feels like you barely made it. And here we are, so close to the finish line, at the finish line, the final battle, it kind of feels like. So hang in there and hold in your heart these truths that you know somewhere deep inside, that you are here to help humanity come back into balance. And it's hard because it's like, there we go to our radical self-worth shift. It's like, and the alpha waves and the joy. And, that means you have to allow harmony in your life, joy in your life, higher frequency vibrations, alpha waves in your life, to show the way and to hold the frequency of what's really happening here, even though you don't really know, but part of you does know. And that part of you is trying to incarnate and land home here. That's a lot of what this Uranus and Taurus is about, is infusing the earth with these higher frequency vibrations. And that's you landing home, your bigger self that hasn't been able to be here. You don't know who it is. You're totally separated from who it is. You have all kinds of programming that says that it's not okay to bring that part of you home. It's not welcome here on the planet. You can be in it, but if you dream and escape and in your sleep in the astral plane, right? But it's time to bring that to earth right here, right now, fully embody that light. And that's a big shift too, because we've been taught that spiritual ascension is about rising. And then that leads to that Piscean distortion around escapism and like, I can't be here on the earth, it can't host me. And it's like, it's interesting because it's like, it can host you when you commit to being here, so the energies can shift, and then all these other souls can be hosted too. If you've been one of these very persecuted souls, the first wave, going into the darkest times on the planet, then that's what you're here for, to hold space for that higher vibration so that other souls can have it easier to incarnate their light. And we do it a little bit more, and then it's a little bit easier, and then it's a little easier for us, and we're all working together on this. But it is time to arrive, and so many of these souls have felt like, when are they taking me home? Like, how did I get here? Wrong planet. Like, not that we don't love the earth, but the people, humanity, like, what's going on? Come on. Like, can we, just allowing these things to go on, right? Allowing the raping of our planet and these dark social experiments and dark negative creating. So we've got to, in order to get out of here, if we want to go and move on to, which is basically what we're doing with our earth, right? Once we go through the shift, you don't want to go anywhere. This is what you came for, right? But it's like, in order to be free of our karma on the earth, we've got to actually completely arrive and have a full expression of who we are. But do you deserve it? Right? And that's this Uranus and Taurus. And today and tomorrow, the sun or Mars in Aquarius, the ruler, Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius, speaking to this Aquarian age, speaking to these new energies. And Mars wants to go and like make something happen. Mars' passion is action, will force. And so in Aquarius, it's like, get this show on the road, in square to the ruler. But it tells us so much about what's really going on. The new age awaits when we can receive it, which is receiving our light, receiving our purity back home. Now, that's another part of the energy right now, is that today Chiron's at 6 degrees, Black Moon Lilith at 7. So they're back to 1 degree apart. And I think it's kind of like, okay, there's this brewing purge of these darker truths that are trying to come forward. And that's a lot about this energy. And the moon and the coming into the opposition with the sun for the full moon tonight. The moon in Libra will be in an exact inconjunct to Neptune in Pisces. Inconjunct is an adjustment that needs to be made. So it's kind of that energy of like, if we are going to get out of the Piscean age, then we need to have justice. We have to bring ourselves back to harmony. And maybe that's a message for us too, individually in our microcosm, is stop beating yourself up. Stop blaming yourself. Stop being so hard on yourself. You've gone through a shit ton to be here right now. And start being gentle and loving, and let yourself come back, heal the inner child, Maybe that's the message of these last couple of degrees of the North Node in Cancer, of like allowing ourselves to come back into the Great Mother and be held in this experience and use this time right now to calm and reset your nervous system. Because these souls have had a thing of like, got to come right back to earth and get back on the mission and fight, And it's like, okay, the fight right now is receiving, is allowing, is a radical shift in your self-worth, a radical shift in your ability to receive the blessings, And it's that shift, that change of like, okay, absolutely no support, which is like anti-support. The support that is available in your life towards your light and who you really are. Anti-support, playing like it's supporting you, right? These control-based relationships. And then to shift to like actual real support, like where the whole energies of this whole paradigm is like, come on, holding you in a nest and supporting you and your light and your gifts. Can you receive that? That's the shift that's going on for these souls. So very powerful. And that moon in conjunct Neptune is really telling us that we've got to come back to balance and harmony in our psyche in order to get out of the Piscean age and move into the new energies. And then that puts the sun in an exact semi-sextile to Neptune. And so the sun and Aries, they're just one sign apart exactly for this full moon. And that's a very positive energy of like, okay, can we do this? Can we cross over the line and work together, even though we're very different, Like, because the signs go male, female, male, female. So with semi-sextile, one sign over is like, okay, wait, you're there, but we're working together in harmony, even though we're coming from different places. Very powerful energy that we need on the planet right now. A little bit of compassion, a little bit of an open mind, a little bit of being able to see the other side of the story. That's what Libra brings. And we could use that right now, because we're in a mind control experiment keeping us divided. And so now that's a really interesting energy, because like Venus is in Gemini now. Venus will be taking a retrograde in Gemini, and that starts next month, and I'll get a video out about that soon. Very interesting concepts coming forward around the goddess Venus, the feminine in us, finding her voice. As Gemini rules communication, also adjustment and thinking, being able to see bigger stories, very important for us right now. But Venus in Gemini is in trine to Mars, and because in Aquarius. And so finding our voice to move us into the harmoniously, and then the balance of the male and female, that sacred marriage within, so we can come into that divine timeline. Very important energy right now. And because Venus is slowing down for that retrograde, it means that for the whole month of April, Venus and Mars are in trine. Super sweet. They stay 1 degree apart or very close, like for the whole month. And that's just starting now. And then Mercury, for this full moon today, is coming into a sextile with Jupiter, Mercury in Pisces, a sextile to Jupiter and Pluto in Capricorn. So that's a very harmonious energy. And Mercury in Pisces, what kind of shift do we need in our psyche and our belief system and our way of thinking in order to move out of the Piscean age and in association with authority contracts and breaking the structures of control, which is everything we've been talking about, like the mind control and all that stuff. So we've got that fire with the sun in Aries, Black Moon, Lilith, and Chiron coming closer together in Aries, breaking the chains of what's held us back in the past. We've got a beautiful energy of sextile with Pisces, water, and Mercury in Pisces, and the Jupiter, Pluto, Capricorn. We've got also Neptune in relationship to the sun and the moon. So we've got that water, we've got the air with the moon in Libra, with Mars in Aquarius and Venus in Gemini. So again, we have this alchemical situation and all these very positive aspects helping us right now. It's all just like, come on, you can do this. Let's do this together, right? And that's the energy we need to tap into, not the display of what we're being told, right? And the gloom and doom and it's all bad. And, like we've got our vibration is so important right now. Like it's your soul purpose. And that, again, I feel like, broken record, but your soul purpose is to feel good, be in that higher vibrational frequency, hold that planetary ideal, all hands on deck as we restore balance to our planet, spiritual justice, landing home in the most harmonious way possible because you're here to be in that light. So thanks so much. I look forward to maybe seeing you at the live activation for that Libra full moon tonight. If not, catch the replay and I'll definitely see you tomorrow for the next update. Until then, I'm Adrienne Elise. Namaste.